Are you experiencing slow sales on eBay, or do you even want more sales on eBay? Well, in today's video, I'm going to give you 8 actionable tips that I use to increase my daily eBay sales. And you're going to want to stick around to the end because number 8 is a complete game changer. Let's start with a quick story. I recently got home from a 3-week vacation where my eBay store was completely turned off. No new items listed, no items available to be purchased. My store was completely shut down. This store was completely dead. However, within 3 hours of me turning my store back on and using these 8 actionable tips, I had my first eBay sale. And over the coming week, I continue to use these 8 actionable tips to continue to grow my store back to where my sales were prior to me shutting down my store and leaving. eBay won't admit this. However, I have found that if you have a completely dead store, there are a few things you have to do in order to turn your store back on and start getting sales to come in the door. It is much easier to keep a good store running than it is for a slow store to start to gain traction. So we have to use these tips if our sales slow down so that we can gain the traction and get the customers to purchase items from us. The goal with jump starting your store is to start getting some conversions. The whole plan is to try to get someone that sees your item to actually convert into a paying customer. Once that has happened, eBay will continue to reward you with finding more customers that want to buy your items. However, you have to start getting these conversions in order for the eBay algorithm to pick you up and say, hey, this is someone that can not only sell items that people want at a price they want, but they can also deliver the items and the customers are satisfied with the items. So you have to get these first few conversions in order for eBay to start sending you more customers that actually want to buy your items. Quick disclaimer. Although this will help increase your sales, it is not a shortcut to the hard work. You have to do the hard work in order to be able to use these tips to grow your store and sales. The hard work means finding high sell-through rate items, listing these items correctly, pricing these items correctly, and offering the best customer service. If you're not doing the hard work, you can't use these actionable tips because no one will buy your items because you're falling behind on one of these other categories, such as finding items in demand or pricing the items correctly. If you're unsure if you're actually doing these steps correctly, I have a video on each one of these steps. I would highly suggest starting with the sell-through rate one here, as that is the most important thing that your store can have is a high sell-through rate. Tip number 1, send offers. Seriously, I don't know how many people out there will complain about slow sales, but they'll have 80 offers that they could be sending out. These are potential customers. These are people that have either looked at your item for long enough or have actually favorited your item and may want to purchase it. So all you have to do is nudge this customer to say, hey, we'll give you a little discount if you buy it right now. Now, obviously, the higher the discount, the higher your conversion rate. If you only offer 5%, you're not going to have as high as a conversion rate as if you're offering 50% discount. But the thing to remember is that it doesn't really matter. Even if you can only offer 5% off your items, it doesn't matter. You're re-nudging that customer to look at that item again and to think about that item again. So even if you can only offer the minimum of 5%, send out that 5% offer. That customer is going to get a notification and they're going to have to look at your item once again. And that's another chance for them to actually purchase the item. So when I was shutting down my store, I couldn't send out offers 4 days before leaving because it allows the customer to actually purchase the item while I'm gone. If you're unsure of how to set up vacation time or time away mode, check out this video here. However, this meant that when I came back and I turned on my store, I had 103 offers to send out. This was the very first thing I did after turning on my store was I went in and sent out 103 offers to these customers that were looking at these items before I had shut down my store. Now, many of them may no longer be interested in the item, and many of them may have went on and purchased an item that was currently available. However, there might have been a select group of people in there that were still contemplating buying the item, and that's who I was aiming for. So you want to make sure to send out these offers. It only takes a few seconds, and I do it multiple times throughout a day. If I pull up my eBay app and I notice that there's some offers pending, I send them out. and I'm constantly doing this. However, if you end up with a buildup of offers to send out, just go ahead and send them all out at once. The best time to send out an offer is as soon as you get it, because that means that that customer was just looking at your item or just thinking about your item. So if you nudge them again and say, hey, come back and look at my item again, there is a better chance that they will buy it. Where if you wait a week or two for these to build up, those customers may no longer be interested in your items. Tip number 2, ship immediately. Me and my wife have a joke that we are faster than Amazon. So I don't always do this. When my sales are good and I'm just running my store as normal, I ship once a day in the morning. And all my packages go with me to the thrift store, and then I drop them off at the post office when I come back. However, if my sales are slow or I just went away and I'm trying to build my store back up to where it was, I am going to ship every item immediately. So this means that if you purchase an item and I am at home, I'm going to stop what I'm doing and I'm going to run out and I'm going to ship your item. Sometimes this can be as quick as 5 to 10 minutes later. So that customer just went on, purchased the item, and 5 minutes later, they already have a tracking number showing that this item is ready to be dropped off at the post office. Now, typically during these slow periods of time, I move my shipping time from the morning to the afternoon to right before the post office closes. So what I'll do is I'll print the labels throughout the day. Anytime someone purchases something, I'm shipping it immediately, I'm putting it to the side, and then at the end of the day, I'm gonna go get those all scanned at the post office so that they're shown that these items are being sent out. eBay loves this. For some reason, I have personally found that when I go out in the morning to ship out a bunch of items, if I'm shipping out like 10 or 15 items from the night before, I will likely sell another one while I'm shipping. And this seems to happen very frequently, to the point that I think eBay is actually rewarding people for shipping items early. I typically have 2-day handling time. That's just to give me a buffer. I ship almost everything either same day or next day, and eBay rewards me for this. A lot of times when someone buys something and I'm shipping it out a few hours later or within the same day, I end up getting more sales because eBay's like, hey, this guy's actually shipping these items out right now. If we can get more customers to buy from him, these customers will likely get their items even quicker. eBay wants the customers to get the items as fast as they can. They know they're competing with Amazon same day, next day delivery. Now we can't offer that because most of the time we're shipping, ground advantage, which takes 5 to 7 days. However, we can beat Amazon on shipping items within 5 minutes. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button so you don't miss next week's video. Tip number 3, list high sell-through rate items. Now, yes, you should always be listing high sell-through rate items. However, during a slow period of time, I like to increase the amount of high sell-through rate items I'm listing, and I like to increase the sell-through of the items that I'm listing. So this means that when I went away on vacation, prior to me leaving, I was building up a draft bank of killer items so that when I came back, I was able to increase the amount of items I was listing each day and increase my sell-through rate. So these items had over 100% sell-through rate. So those first couple days when I was back and my store was back open, I was listing these items, and these are items that could sell within the same day that I list them. Now, I like to always have a few of these items available. So during a slow period of time, I have a few items set to the side that have 100% or 200% sell-through rate. And what I'll do is I'll say, hey, my sales are kind of slowing down today. I'm going to go grab 2 of those and I'm going to list those right now to kind of help move things along. So think of things like Wii Sports or Mario Kart, anything that has an amazing sell-through rate that chances are if you price it correctly, it will sell within 1 day. Set a few of those items to the side. I don't think high dollar items because you obviously want to get that money back, but a few of those $20 or $30 items that have those amazing sell-through rates, if you set them to the side and you start to experience some slow periods in sales, grab those items, get those items listed and put them up. And the whole idea here is to convert people into customers. So if you can convert one person into buying that item and you can go out and ship that item immediately, you're giving eBay all this feedback information that, hey, this seller is handling their business. They're providing items that customers want and they're shipping them out fast, and eBay will continue to reward you with more sales. Tip number 4, run a sales event. So when I came back, one of the first things I did was I went in and I started running a sales event. Now, I tend to focus on older or slower moving inventory. I personally don't like to put all my items on sale because it has to be recatalogued. So anytime you change the price or the title or anything in a listing, eBay has to find a new place for that item to be cataloged. So even when you run a sales event and you've changed that price point, eBay has to recatalog it so it shows up correctly within high to low search if that's the way your customer is searching. So it takes some time for eBay to do that. So that's why I recommend only doing maybe half of your store or only slow sell-through rate items or older items. I personally just go 6 months and older, and I put all those items on sale, and that allows me to put those older items on sale but still keep some of my newer items from having to go through the recatalogization process. And while those older ones are being recataloged, my newer ones are already ready to be sold. I also don't recommend doing this just for a day. I know some people will run a sales event for one day and then shut it down the next day. I think it slows down your sales because eBay's having to constantly recatalog your items. I prefer to go at least a week, but I usually do it for 2 weeks. So I'll run my sales events for 2 weeks. That way it gives it a few days to recatalog and then a few days for it to sell. And then at the end, it has to be recataloged again because if that price is going back up, your item has to be shown in a different portion of the listings. Once again, the percent that you put your items on sale matters because the higher the percentage, the higher your conversion rate is going to be. So if you put your items on sale for 50%, you're going to have more conversions than if you do the minimum of 5%. However, once again, I highly recommend that even if you can only do the 5%, do the 5% because it does show up in your listing that this item is on sale, which increases the chances that that buyer will buy it today versus saying, you know what, I'm going to wait, I'm going to see, I'm going to shop around. They're going to say, oh, this item's on sale. Even that 5%, it does have the strike-through pricing. It's going to show that it is on sale. It might convert that potential customer into a paying customer. Tip number 5, answer all questions and be the last person to respond. So I don't always recommend doing this, and I talk about it in the bad buyer video here because sometimes customers are reaching out and you can kind of tell that they're going to be a bad buyer. However, if they're not a bad buyer and they're just asking a general question, respond and respond quick and be the last person to respond in the messages, especially during slow periods. Hey, if your sales are slow, you're not shipping, so you have more time to answer these questions. So if someone asks you a measurement or whatever, go out and get that measurement. If they're asking what color or what shade it is, go out and figure out what it is, send them a message back. And then if they respond back with something like thank you or whatever, you might think that that's the end of the conversation. But me personally, I like to always be the last one to respond so that eBay doesn't think that I'm not responding to customers. All eBay can see is that the customer sent a message and I didn't respond back. They track that information because they even tell customers right on your page how quick you are to respond to their questions. It will say something like, seller is likely to respond within 24 hours. So you want to keep that number nice and low. So even if they say, hey, what's the measurements? And you give them the measurements and then they say, thank you. I like to just send a thumbs up emoji, anything to make sure that I'm the last person to respond within that message chain. Tip number 6, accept the offer to move the needle. So what this means is that if you're experiencing slow sales, but you're receiving offers from buyers, stop declining the buyer's offers. If you have the ability to accept the offer and still make some money, and you haven't had any sales yet today, or your sales are slower than you would like, consider accepting that offer. The more offers you accept, the more your items will be pushed to other buyers because eBay knows that you will close the deal. This also goes for counter offers. Never decline an offer outright. Just keep countering. There's only so many counters you can do, so if the buyer doesn't like how you're countering back, it will eventually just run out of counters and leave it in the buyer's hands. So your job is to keep countering and to keep that buyer on the platform. If you straight out decline the buyer's offer, that buyer now has had a bad experience on eBay, and eBay isn't going to send you more buyers so that you can turn them away from the eBay platform. So what you want to do is always counter, and if your sales are slower than you would like, really consider accepting that offer. Me personally, if my sales are slower than I would like, I will sometimes accept an offer lower than I would normally accept just so that I start getting some of those conversions. Because remember, the more conversions we have, the more opportunity we have with eBay, understanding that, hey, we're delivering customers items that they want at a price point that they want, and we're keeping customers on the platform and coming back to the platform. So the next time you get an offer and your sales are low, really think about whether it's worth accepting it if it's going to trigger more sales in the coming days. Tip number 7, use buyer groups. So buyer groups are pretty cool. So if you go on here to your seller hub and you go under marketing, you click buyer groups, you're going to have a couple different buyer groups that you can use: interested buyers, previous customers, and your followers. I typically just like using my followers in this situation. So I'll engage with my buyer group of followers. So anyone that's followed my store, they followed it for a reason. They either think that I'm going to have more of the inventory that they want, or they just like the way that I handled business and they're willing to purchase from me in the future. So these are customers that are following my store for one reason or another. So what I'll do is I'll create that follower buyer group, and then I'll send them a coupon. Once again, the coupon percent does matter. The higher the percentage, the higher your conversion rate. But even if you can only offer that 5%, I still send out that coupon just so that this customer is now drawn back to my store. I also think eBay enjoys it, even if they don't come back to your store and they go to the eBay page. I think they track where that traffic is coming from. And if it's coming from your buyer groups, they're going to continue to send buyers to you because they know that you're drawing customers to their platform. Tip number 8, use stored newsletters. So if you're in a slow period or you're in a period where you want to grow, you have to reach out to as many customers as you can. And one of the best ways to do this is through store newsletters. So if you go to your seller hub and you go under store and you go to store newsletters, it will bring up where you can create a campaign. You click create a campaign and it's going to bring up a bunch of different templates that you can use. I personally, once again, just like using the coupon one. So I click coupon, I go next. Once you've figured out what you're going to send, you can now select your recipients. I personally like using just the recent buyers from the last year. So I'll click on that and I will send a stored newsletter. What a stored newsletter is essentially an email that these customers will get that has whatever information I'm giving them. So I will send this out to anyone that's purchased from me within the last year, and this customer will get an email, and that email will have that coupon code in it. And once again, it may draw traffic back to my actual page, which may convert into an actual sale. But more importantly, it's once again drawing traffic to eBay, and eBay once again is probably tracking where that traffic is coming from. And they're like, hey, Travis's buyers actually open his newsletter, they actually come back to the eBay platform, and they actually purchase. So Travis has some good buyers. We want to keep sending more buyers to Travis because he draws traffic to our platform, which creates more money for eBay, which is the cycle that we are all in. If we can make eBay happy, eBay will make us happy. If you have enjoyed this video, YouTube thinks you're going to enjoy this one. So go ahead and give it a click.